So I thought I should quickly go back to the issue of forced vaccinations. And I understand that countries now are considering, if not they have already, I think Singapore has, if you're not vaccinated, the state is going to withhold healthcare. Now, if that isn't an implication of forced vaccines, I don't know what is. But let's just think about it. I'm going to use the flu and the cold as a baseline here. We've had flu and the cold, and every year, just like me actually, I've got a cold. Actually, it's not a cold, and it is a cold. It's not COVID. It's a cold, something that I can treat with an orange and some soup, and if it gets any worse, I'll be in bed for a day, and that's it. Anyway, it looks like Singapore has now said that if you're not vaccinated, you don't get healthcare. And we know that that governments are thinking about this or planning to do this because the news media talks about it. We know that if something's going to happen about a month before the news media start talking about it, you know, they bring on someone who's pro the agenda or pro the idea, and then a day later there's somebody else, and then they'll keep repeating it until it's implemented, whatever it is. And we've seen that all along through COVID-19. But one of the things that has grabbed me again is mandatory vaccinations. So the airlines, looks like they're all going to, you know, you have to be vaccinated to be on our aircraft and fly into countries like the US. Right now, in another video I made, I detailed that as of Monday the 8th of November, you have to be vaccinated to fly into the US. So Singapore has said if you're not vaccinated, you can't have healthcare. We know that the UK has spoken about this. Maybe they think it's not possible. Maybe they think that the public really would go bananas and would be protesting in the streets. But we know that the people behind there are people in governments. So it's not just the British government or the US government. We know that there's an agenda there. They really want every person on planet Earth vaccinated. You know, I'm not a virologist. I don't know the science particulars, the detail of this stuff, but it doesn't make sense. What I do understand now, is that viruses behave. There are different types of viruses. The cold and the flu, they come along, they don't kill you, although the flu's pretty bad, and if you're old and you have other health conditions, other health problems, getting the flu can be bad. So we know that, and you know, there are vaccines for the flu and the cold, and that seems to have been okay. No one's really complained. Although my dad, the last couple of years, he would tell me that he's had the flu jab, and a week later he's got the flu. He's in bed for 3 days, feeling lousy. And the last time he did that, I said, "Dad, why did you take the flu jab?" And it was because his sister had taken it, and I said to him, "Dad, you know, you're sick. You weren't sick. You took the flu jab, and now you're sick." Anyway, forced vaccinations. The whole world being vaccinated. Why would they want to do that? As I understand it, human beings develop naturally herd immunity. One person explained to me that what should have happened when the pandemic first started was that only the very vulnerable people should have had the vaccine. And even then, vulnerable people that come into contact with many people. So where there was a likelihood that they could pick up the virus that way. But they explained to me that all young people or middle-aged people should not have had the vaccine because that would have enabled herd immunity to take effect. And also, a person like me, there's a chance I've had COVID, but the symptoms were so slight I didn't even realise until a week later when I retrospectively remembered not being able to taste chilies, and so it looks like I've even had COVID myself. And anyway, so why do they want everyone vaccinated? Surely we'd want the natural person's immune system to deal with this, because as I understand it also, the virus will mutate, we will get variants. And isn't it a good idea that we people naturally are able to combat a virus? Why do we have to have this vaccine? Now, another way to look at it, just think about it. There are 8 billion people on Earth. And if you're a manufacturer of a vaccine, that is a lot of customers. Now, they don't even have to sell the vaccine to you. The government is going to force you to take it, and the government's also going to pay for it. And the government's going to pay exactly what the manufacturers want to charge for it. Then the government takes the money off you in taxes. So you are paying for a new vaccine. I think it's an experimental thing. They're forcing you to pay for a vaccine that you don't want. Some people want it, fair enough. Someone like me, I don't want it because I'd like my body, my natural immunity to deal with it. Maybe that's a bit hippie, I don't know, but what I don't like is the forced nature of all this. And this is the thing with COVID-19 and the pandemic. Everything is forced, it seems. Everything seems to have just been prescribed for us. The general public have had no say in anything. We were told to wear face masks. We were told to stay at home. We were told to stay at home, lose our jobs. We were told to not see our family. We were told not to see our dying members of our family who are dying. We were told not to get married. In fact, we were just told not to do things. Now, don't you think it would have been, I don't know, better, more fair to say to people, look, there's a killer virus out there. Some people it kills, some people it doesn't. We are going to provide a vaccine, and those of you in the public that want the vaccine, you can have it. Those that don't have the vaccine, you don't have to have it, but can you be careful? Can you avoid people? It doesn't matter, but we should have had choice. We've had no choice. And every time people have brought this issue of choice to governments and health authorities, they've always said, oh, no, it'll never happen. There'll never be forced vaccines. There'll never be a forced lockdown again. There'll never be this, never be that. And every time the public raises a question over a thing that's being forced, the government says no. Months later, it's enforced. So this is why the general public is fed up. And we're talking a lot of people. My own estimation is there are roughly 10% of the population who are dead against everything to do with COVID. They don't believe it. They believe in any other explanation because they're grasping with what's the truth, and we're not being told the truth. And they are going to avoid the vaccine. They're not going to take it. Then I would say there's another 20-30% who are very skeptical, who really don't want the vaccine, but they are possibly going to have the vaccine because they will just feel that they'll just succumb to the pressure. And maybe their employer has made them, and they think to themselves, well, I'm not going to die, I'll take the vaccine. Now, then there will be, the rest. I guess there's about 20% of people that think, yes, the government's really nice, they've got our best interests at heart. Big Pharma is really nice, they like everyone, and again, they want us all to live forever, and they want us to have this great technology. I mean, come on, who really believes that? I've actually had experience in biotech, and maybe I've got to be careful what I say about it, but it's all about money in Big Pharma. It really is. The only thing they care about is people being poorly, and can they make a drug that they can sell by the millions. That is Big Pharma. I've sat in meetings with Big Pharma, and I'm going to, not mention names or anything like that, but if you mention, if you were to put your hand up and say, hey, clever people, there is this obscure disease in Africa, and I think I've got a cure for it. Someone will say, hey, that's fabulous. How many people a year do you think have this problem? And you'd say, well, possibly 1,000. And literally at that point, they don't want to know, because 1,000 Africans, they have no money for anything. And so if you create a cure, even a life-saving cure, but there's only 1,000 customers, Big Pharma, they're just not interested. But if you said, look, there's a condition in Africa, and basically every African person has it, and we've got this thing that we can make for pence, and I'm sure that African governments will buy it, and every single African needs it. At that point you'll have Big Pharma's interest, because there is a profit margin there, a profit motive, and you're off. So Big Pharma, and I would say this to Big Pharma to their face, look, I know you. I know that you're driven by profit margins, and your customers are anyone who's ill. That's where you open your eyes and you become interested. You have some very wonderful, very clever people working for you that I don't think are profit motivated. These people, they are scientists. They are into the technology, into the science, and they really want to hurt people. But the executives at Big Pharma, all they care about is money and getting rich. And COVID-19 has been the biggest payday in living history for Big Pharma. So there you go. I've explained a little bit of the motive, a reason, an explanation for the government's insistence on forced vaccinations, because that's what we're all facing. This needs to be explained more in the public domain. Governments need to explain what is going on, the benefits of being vaccinated, why on this earth we should all be vaccinated, and it simply doesn't ring true. There must be an agenda. There is something very dark in the background here. I don't believe it's right. I believe it's very wrong. We should not be forced to take a vaccine, and that's what is happening. And I'll leave it there. Okay.